preparing to live stream. Okay, here we are on Facebook. We are live. I am live here. Just 1 minute. It's another time that I get to come on. And yes. Okay. So hi everyone who's here on Facebook. This is Anthony Mwerore, and it's another time that we get to share some insights, we get to interact, we get to meet with some wonderful guests who come on my podcast, the Now Tell Us podcast. And today we have a special guest with us. His name is Dennis Henson, Dennis J. Henson. Hello, Dennis. How are you?
Just great, Anthony. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, welcome to our show today.
I appreciate you having me.
Yes, and we are very honored to have you here. Where we are going to talk about real impact, daily inspiration, and we are going to find out what it is all about.
Wonderful.
Yeah, but before we dive deeper into that, maybe you would like to know who is Dennis Henson, who, for the person who is seeing you for the very first time.
Well, I've been in business for a number of years. Actually, was a band director in the early 70s, and I started
early 70s. You've
That's
been
right.
here for some time.
That's right. So I
Okay.
started business in 1975, and I've done a number of different things. I'm an entrepreneur. I've done real estate. I've owned a number of other businesses. And lately, I've decided that I'm going to write down some of the things that I've learned in hopes that I can help some other people along the way.
Wonderful. And we are, so with that experience, been here and doing things for about, that's 50 years. You're talking about 50 years.
That's right.
That's quite a lot of experience. And I love being around people who, with such an experience, who've seen things that I haven't seen, experienced things that maybe I have not experienced. So it's quite an honor to have you here. And we believe that it's a wonderful day. Now, this topic, real impact, daily inspiration, was picked from your book, which is under the same title. Maybe we can see it. Where is it?
Oh,
Sure. Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah. How did it come to be?
I was a successful real estate investor back around the beginning of this century, and I wanted to learn more about real estate investing. I've been reading and had businesses for a long time, but I wanted to become a better real estate investor. So I decided I was going to go to real estate investing groups. But I live in Arlington, Texas, and the Metroplex, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, is very large. So in order to visit a group, I had to drive an hour, and if there was traffic, maybe 2 hours to get to a group. And I thought, well, there should be a group in Arlington. But there wasn't one. And I decided, well, I'll start one. That way I can have the speakers I want. I can have it where I want it. And, I can kind of control things. So I started a real estate investing group on Meetup, and it grew and grew. And people came from Dallas, people came from Fort Worth, people came from Houston. I mean, they came from all over. And we had a very successful group. So I started teaching classes. I thought, well, now if I want to learn, I can learn through teaching. So I picked an advanced technique every month, a different advanced technique. I subject to short sale, private money, whatever, I thought about land trust. And I would make a note and I would send it out to all these people and say, we're going to have a class and I'm going to teach you how to do land titles or whatever. And the truth is, I didn't know that much about it, but I had a month to study and put together a training class on it. So by the end of the month, I could answer anybody's questions and I could make a presentation. And that was very successful. I learned a lot. So one day, one of the members came up and said, Dennis, I'm going to retire in a few weeks and I want you to mentor me and I'll pay you. And I said, well, Mike, I don't have time to do that. I'm very busy with my real estate business and I have these meetings and these trainings, and I'm just going to decline. And he says, well, you didn't hear what I said. He said, I'm going to retire in about 3 weeks and you're going to mentor me. And I didn't know what to say then. He said, let's go out to lunch and we'll discuss it. So we went out and had lunch. He bought me a Whataburger. After we ate, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a checkbook. And he opened it and handed it to me, and he said, here, fill that out. And I thought, do you mean the amount? And he said, yeah. I said, you're going to teach me? Just write down what it's going to cost me. And I thought, well, I'll fix this. I'll put a number here that I know he won't pay, and that'll solve the problem. So I put a pretty good sized number on there. He took the checkbook, he signed the check, tore it out and handed it to me, and never looked at the price. So I started teaching real estate. That's when I thought, well, if people are going to pay me this kind of money, then I'm going to become a real estate teacher. So I thought, well, it better be good. I better teach them something really wonderful for the money they're paying me. So my students started becoming super successful. I mean, they were so successful that I got a reputation of having this wonderful training. And so other real estate groups had me come in and speak. I was invited to expos. I spoke throughout the nation. I even spoke in other nations. And so I was super successful. Well, podcasts were just getting started. And there was a real estate podcast. They called me and said, we want to have you on our podcast. And I said, sure. So they were interviewing me, and the host said, Dennis, what makes your students so successful? And I said, well, it's pretty simple. I haven't changed their habits. If they can form success habits, they will become successful. And then he said, Dennis, what's the number one? Can you share with my audience what's the number one success habit? Oh, and I said, yes. Have them read something positive every day that leads them toward their goal. In a few years, they'll be experts. And so after that podcast, I got to thinking, that was really a good answer. Wouldn't it be wonderful if there was some kind of a tool to help people form the habit of reading something positive every day? Then it hit me. I've been collecting motivational short stories, poems, quotes, books, and a number of other things for 50 years. Anything that I heard that was really powerful, I always kept it down. Like I met Jim Rohn back in the 70s, and he said, write everything in the journal. You don't ever know when you're going to need it. So once computers came, I transferred everything from the journal onto computers. And I thought, I've got everything I need to put a book together so that people can form the habit easily, regardless of what time they have, because Anthony, everyone's busy. No one has time to create a new habit. So I put it in an order where the long short stories are first, and then we go to the poems, and then the quotes, and then the books are in the back. So if you have 5 minutes in any day, you got 5 minutes, you read a poem. If you have a few seconds, you get home, you're exhausted, and you don't have time to read, you can read a quote, go to bed thinking about something really positive. Or if you're at the airport and you have a layover and you got 3 or 4 hours, the list of books in the back, you can have an accompanying book.
Yeah.
And you can read Think and Grow Rich.
Okay.
You can read Achieve Your Dreams. Have you heard of that one?
I think he's around here.
Okay. Or, you can read for an hour or two. So I thought that's going to take me a month. I've got all the stuff together. That was in 2018, and I worked on that book every day until last year, and it was published last year. It took me 6 years, but the book I came up with is gorgeous. I mean, I was on a podcast with a book publisher, and he held this book up, and he said, Dennis, I think this may be the nicest book I've ever held in my hand, because I used to own a printing company. And I knew what the very best papers were. I knew how to get the color separation, how to get the best cover, how to have it bound. And it's really really a nice book. In
Mm,
fact, but it's not about, the book. It's about what the book can do for you. If you form
mm,
the habit of reading something positive every day that moves you toward your goal, it's a trick.
mm,
You have to know what your goal is.
mm,
If you don't know what your goal is, you get up every day and you don't have any. You're kind of like a ship out in the middle of the ocean without a rudder. You're just going in whatever direction the world takes you. But if you know what your goal is and you're reading something positive, it reminds you every day, I've got to read something positive that's going to take me to become an attorney or a real estate investor or an accountant or whatever your goal is. It's going
mm.
to move you closer step by step. Zig Ziglar said, little by little, a little becomes a lot.
Yeah,
If you
sure.
just read
Exactly.
20 pages on a 200-page book every day, at the end of the year, you will have read 20 books,
Mm,
19 more than the average person, and that will set you apart. Now, that was Zig Ziglar talking,
mm.
but that's pretty powerful. That quote's in the book, by the way.
Yeah, and that's very good because nowadays people are not reading. They are busy scrolling on their phone, on social media, and watching
Exactly.
some videos. So it's good that we bring back that idea that reading is important. Do you believe now, because you've experienced this revolution, what would you talk about that coming from those people who are focused on books, reading every day? At least when I was growing up, we were reading newspapers. I don't know when I have last seen someone read a newspaper, even. So how's this transition, and what would you say about it?
Well, newspapers are kind of going,
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of going by the wayside because it's so easy to pick up Google
Yeah.
or YouTube or a number of others and find whatever you're looking for, and you can read about that. I like to walk every day, and I listen to some educational. I had some health problems back in 2018, and when I came out of the hospital, I was really in bad shape, and I decided, well, I'm going to become healthy again. I'm not going to look like I had a stroke. I'm not going to sound like I had a stroke. I'm going to be a healthy person. So I started, that was my goal, listening every single day or reading every single day. And actually, I'm putting together a website now for people to help them become healthy, to overcome heart disease and stroke and all of the bad things. So I've learned an awful lot about that. And you can learn about anything if you just make it a daily task to learn a little bit every single day. You can move in any direction that you want to.
Oh, okay. So the point is learning, is not specifically reading, but now making sure that you learn something, whether it be reading or listening. Although now
Yes.
here focusing on your book, we are talking about reading because it's in text form.
Well, the book is a tool to help you form the habit.
Mm-hmm.
Habits are not easy to form,
Yeah, sure.
but they're easy to get,
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't form your own habit through your conscious, your habits will form, and they may not be the habits that you want. They
Mm-hmm.
may not lead you to success. You're going to have habits just like a garden. If you have a garden, you can either have some really nice vegetables, or you can have weeds.
Yeah.
If you don't do something every day, you're going to have weeds. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there may be some vegetables in there, but it'd be really difficult to get to them because you're going to have trees and weeds and vines and all kinds of other things. So the way to avoid that in your mind is you put positive things, educational things, motivational things, and that pushes the weeds out. There's no room for them. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what the book is. That's why the book is important. It gets you started. It gets you started on the habit. It makes it really easy. And the book is fun to read. If you
Mm-hmm.
go to Amazon and read the reviews, I've got well over 100 reviews and a five
Oh,
star average. And you're
wow.
an author. That's hard
Yes.
to do. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's hard. It's not easy.
it's got to be a really, really interesting book. And this one's
Mm-hmm.
really interesting because I didn't really write the book, I compiled it. the stuff I put in it was interesting before I put it in there. So it's going, I mean, I was going to hit a home run because I put a lot of really wonderful stories in of people who struggled so hard and then eventually broke through. And there are people who, you know, their name, Lincoln and Hershey and Schwarzenegger. And, you know, the list goes on and on and on. But they're very successful, very well-known people. But most people didn't realize how many struggles, how many times they got knocked down before they were able to break through.
What could be your favorite story there? Oh, piece of writing.
That's like, Anthony, that's like saying, you got 15 kids, which one's your favorite? I mean, I love them all. I love the story of Disney probably the best because I worked on it longer. It's the longest story in the book. It took me probably 7 or 8 months to complete it, but it's a very wonderful story. And there's a lot of Disney fans, and they'll come to me and say, oh man, I loved your story about Disney. I didn't know all that because I did some serious research to get everything in.
Yeah, Disney is someone who is a very good example to people who have big dreams, and they are challenged of following them to fulfillment. So maybe give us 1 or 2 points that we can pick from Disney stories from your book and from the research that you did on him.
The main thing was he knew what he wanted. He had his mind right. So I'm writing another book called The 7 Secrets of Success. And it talks about the first secret of success is you have to get your mind right. You have to know what you want, have a burning desire. You have to have a deep faith that you're going to be able to reach your goal. And Disney had all of that, you know. Yeah. So I think of the main point about the Disney story is he got knocked down over and over. He failed and lost all of his money, and people took advantage of him, and he just got right up, dusted off his pants, wiped off his coat, and went at it again. And he wanted to become famous in Hollywood. He wanted to have respect of Hollywood. Well, he ended up winning more Oscars by far, and still has more by far than any other actor or producer. I mean, it's amazing how much impact he had and how people respected him.
Somewhere in your stories, you've mentioned about a few names, and I know that maybe you've come, I think you mentioned that you, at some point you were with Jim Rohn. Did you? How many other people have you been in contact with? Those people that the names that we know, the Zig Ziglar, the Jim Rohn, how many people have you come into contact with?
It's hard to remember. I don't know. You know, over the years, you go to their seminars, they come to your training sessions, and so I've met some very interesting people. I think I've met 5 presidents.
Wow.
And motivational speakers, but I think probably Jim Rohn is the most famous one that I got to know early in his career before he was famous at all. He was just getting started. And then Zig Ziglar has been one of my mentors since the early 70s or the mid 70s. When I saw it wasn't a video, it was a reel-to-reel projector. It was a projector that had a reel-to-tape on it, showed it on the wall. It was him doing the priming the pump. That story's in this book, Priming the Pump. And there's also, the story also tells about him publishing his book, See You at the Top. It's a really, really interesting story. But before our time runs out, Anthony, I want to give everybody a free ebook that's listening in, if that's okay. Is that okay?
That's okay. You can go ahead and give them.
If they will go to realimpactbook.com, scroll to the bottom of the page where it says podcast attendee, then you can click on that, put in your name and email, and you get an instant download. There's no catch. All right.
Hello.
We won't even put you on an email list. Now,
I,
there is
I,
a link. There's a link there that says,
yes.
if you want to know when I publish other books, click this link, and then I'll have your email address. And when I finish the Laws of Nature for Success, then I'll let you know. When I finish the 7 Secrets of Success, I'll let you know. When I finish Wisdom, Stature, God, and Man, Living a Balanced Life, I'll let you know. But that's the only emails you'll ever get from me.
Okay. So to everyone who's listening, the website is www.realimpactbook.com. It's going to be in the description of the video. It's going to be attached there, so you can head over to the website and get to register in order to get a free ebook from our guest today, Dennis Henson. And thank you very much for that, Dennis.
Well, thank you so much, Anthony. I hope people will get the book. I hope they'll think 5 people that it can help. Someone graduating from high school or college, or someone that's in sales, or someone struggling with their business. If they will remember that this book can change lives, then they will have helped a lot of people by sharing this information.
Yeah. If I may ask you, what could be your personal biggest challenge?
My personal biggest challenge is getting this book out in front of 1 million people. That's my goal. I'm doing other books, and I think if I give this book away, you probably think, well, why does he want to give the book away with no strings? Well, I want you to see what kind of an author I am. And then when my other books come out, you're going to say, oh, wow, he's got another book. I want to get that book. So it's, that's not really a string. It's just information. If I get the information out, and I want to help people. I'm older. I'm 77. 30 years from now, I'll be a memory. But the books will still be here, and they'll still be talking and helping people. So, that's my goal also.
And that's the good thing with writing books. And this is what we should encourage our listeners to do. Write a book. Have something that is going to outlive you. We are not here forever. You never know how many more years you have on the planet. And so leave a legacy by writing books that future generations can benefit from.
I agree.
Yeah. Dennis, I'm curious to know, and maybe even our listeners are curious to know, what figure was in that check?
I think it was somewhere around $5,000, because at the time, now this was a good while ago, okay? And at the time, I thought, well, nobody's going to give me $5,000. But they did, and the line got so long, I had to raise it. I talked with one of my partners, and he said, Dennis, you're not charging enough for what you're teaching. I mean, they're making millions of dollars, and you're just charging them $5,000. So I doubled it. And the line got longer. And I doubled it again, and the line got longer, and I couldn't keep up with it. So finally, I raised it to $30,000, and it shortened the line a little bit. But I still, when I retired from teaching, I still had a line of people wanting to take, and I still get calls.
Okay.
But the real estate training, I've got some books on real estate which have that training that I charged the $30,000 for. So if you want to go to Amazon, if you're interested in real estate, I have an REI skills series, the Royal Flush, how to get started investing in real estate, all the money you'll ever need, 66 ways to find great deals, and the 5 M's of real estate investing. Yeah. Some of those are already published. By the time you read them, I'll have the others. I'll have them done.
That's wonderful. And the other question that follows that is that we have people who have a challenge with placing value on their content or whatever it is that they are giving or they are bringing to the marketplace. I'm a speaker. How do I charge? I'm writing a book. How much do I price it at? I'm giving I'm putting together a course. How do I price that? How do we go about that so that we know? Do we write a check like yours, or where do we start?
That's a good question. I don't know if I know the answer. You
Mm,
know, the market is the market. And if you're a speaker and you want to be a speaker like someone, go find out what that person charges and say, am I as good as they are? Or am I not quite as good? Or will I be that good in a few years? And just base it on, if they're charging $10,000 and you say, well, I'm probably half as good as them, then you charge five. Or if you think, well, I'm better than them, maybe you charge 12. So you look at what the market will bear. And then if you come in too high and you don't get any speaking engagements, then you can always lower the price a little bit or have a special.
mm-hmm. What's in chapter number 4, where it says she turned a dime into $1 million? What story is there?
Um, she turned a dime into $1 million. That's the story of Martha Berry.
Okay.
She lived in northwest Georgia, near Rome, Georgia, and her father was a plantation owner, so she had some money, and it was early 1900s, and there were no schools, not in that part of Georgia, none at
Mm-hmm.
all. And so she started teaching a little Sunday school class. And when the kids found out that she's teaching, they came. And so she started a little set, she built a little schoolhouse on her father's plantation and started teaching. Well, more and more kids came. And so finally, she didn't have the money to build the kind of school that, just think of it now.
Mm-hmm.
A typical elementary school probably has anywhere from 500 to 1,600 people. Well,
Yeah.
it was the same way. She was getting so many kids, she didn't have any place to put them. They would bring food and barter for their education, but it wasn't enough money. So one day, one of the students came in and said, Miss Berry, you need to get in touch with Henry Ford. And she says, why? In this newspaper, it says he's giving money to people that need it. And so she wrote Henry Ford a letter and told her, told Henry Ford what she was trying to do. And so by then he was an old man and he was crusty and everybody's trying to get his money. And so he wasn't very interested in helping people at that time. So he sent her a dime. He sent her 10 cents. And she took that dime and made a plan. And she was able to turn that dime into $1,500. I'm not going to tell you what the plan was. You got to read the book. But she
Mm-hmm.
turned that dime into, and she sent him the whole $1,500 and said, here's your return on your 10-cent investment for Berry School. When Henry Ford saw that check for $1,500, he got in a train that day and went to Rome, Georgia, and looked up Martha Berry. And he saw her school and he saw those kids and how they wanted to learn. And he left her a big check. And over the years, they remained friends. And he continued to send her checks.
Mm-hmm.
And in total, the estimate is somewhere
That's a
between
wonderful story.
$3 and $4 million.
Wow. Wow.
She
Wow.
she invested in land, and now the Berry School is the largest college campus in the world. It's bigger than Disney World, 40
Mm-hmm.
square miles.
Mm.
And it's still there. I went to school there for a while.
Oh, okay. Wow. 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 Thank you. Thank you for sharing the stories. And we are honored to have had you here on our podcast today. And yeah, remind people to go and get that book. Yeah, please, everyone who's listening, go get the book.
Yeah,
But yeah,
you
okay,
can
go
get it
ahead.
on Amazon or Real Impact Daily Inspiration, either one.
Okay, go get it. Now, before we go, leave us a few words that we should always remember. That's something I usually ask our guests. Some words that we should always remember.
If you want to make yourself feel better, helps someone else to feel better. I often say that, let's just say that someone bought Achieve Your Dream, and they liked that book. They thought, oh, this is a wonderful book. Well, okay, make the author's day. Go to Amazon, find Achieve Your Dream, give it a 5-star rating and say, I love this book because, and that make you feel good that you help them, and it will make them feel great because getting a 5-star rating always makes you smile.
Wow. Giving a 5-star rating always makes you smile.
That's right.
Getting it also. And that's good. So thank you once again to all the viewers. Thank you for watching. This has been Now Tell Us. I've been your host, Anthony Murore, and we've had a wonderful guest, Dennis J. Henson. Thank you. And until next time, see you and go make a real impact. Bye for now.